Hey, Truthful Radio here. It's the 29th of March 2016. I hope everybody's doing well today. I wanted to make video on Bernie Sanders. Hopefully this will just be a one full video where I can just lay everything out. But as more information rises throughout the future, I might need to make another part 2. I got a part 3. I'll hopefully be up soon. Donald Trump Exposed series, just so you guys know. And I'm going to get started on Bernie Sanders today. Now, it's hella funny because there's actually people in the alternative media, the conspiracy community, whatever you want to fucking call it. There's so many rebrand names to call this movement. And they think that Bernie Sanders is, going to stop the New World Order and break up the banks and all that crap. And, by the time you get done watching this, you'll see that that's all bullshit if you obviously don't know it already. And I think one of the major contributors to that would definitely be Jesse Ventura. And talk the 2016 elections and why Bernie Sanders has their vote, him and Henry Rollins. And it's just funny. Of course, Ventura is a big open border liberal, probably a Mason. That's why he was wearing the 32nd degree double-headed eagle jacket at the wrestling event a few years ago. And the whole thing with Bernie Sanders, like, my dad knows all about the New World Order, knows about the Illuminati, etc., etc., knows how they pull the strings from behind the scenes and all of that. I've showed him so much irrefutable evidence that shows that Bernie Sanders is just another puppet politician, just like the rest of them, and people just don't want to let it go. They just people just crave leaders, and they just it's just unreal because this guy is just a total puppet. So let's get started on this. So Henry Mackay, I've always thought was very, in my opinion, I don't agree quite with everything that he says, but from my research, he seems legitimate and definitely puts out good information. And so it's actually fun. I did actually look up the Masonic Lodge, and it is the same address as this. I hope this is true. If this is disinformation, I will definitely retract myself. But Bernie Sanders' offices are currently located in the Masonic Lodge headquarters in Burlington, Vermont. Now, I'm pretty sure this is true. I've never been there, so I don't know personally. But I'm going to go ahead and continue here about Bernie Sanders. What the hell? Let's get this out of here. He wouldn't end the drone program. That's right, he would not end the drone program. But he's so anti-war, right? Right? He won't end the drone program. Do you know how much fucking Dick Cheney and George Bush and the Halliburton Industry Company, do you know how much fucking money they've made off the drone program? And he doesn't want to end it? Fuck this guy. Are you fucking shitting me? Are you fucking shitting me? He wants to use limited use of drones as a tool of foreign policy, but he's so anti-war, but he wants to use drones as a tool of foreign policy. You fucking libtards, wake the fuck up. Holy shit. And he's all about the rights of the Constitution, right? And the NSA's illegally spying on us, right? Well, then how come him and Hillary want to imprison Edward Snowden, and they want him to face trial? Of course, he didn't break the law at all. He just was letting the American people know that the Constitution was being violated, and people want him to go to prison. Even Rand Paul and all of his NSA and his stance on the Senate floor and all of that, he still wants Snowden to face trial. I mean, it's just unreal. I mean, I don't know if this guy's COINTEL or not. He could be a limited hangout CIA op. I really don't know. I haven't looked into that. I might make a video on that somewhat in the future. But it just goes to show that Bernie Sanders and obviously Hillary Clinton, I don't even need to make videos about her. I mean, even most libtards I've talked to are awake of how much of a fucking liar she is. And so, anyways, to Bernie Sanders, here's another one. He wants to keep troops in Afghanistan. That's right. He supports keeping troops in Afghanistan. That wasn't an illegal war that we had there at all, was it, Bernie? Oh my gosh. And people say that this guy is anti-war. He's anti-war, supports keeping troops in Afghanistan. He doesn't want to end the drone program. He wants to use it as a tool of foreign policy, but yet he's an anti-war candidate. It's fucking unreal. Are you fucking retarded or something? Gosh. Excuse me. I have way too many heated debates with liberals and family members who are big supporters of Bernie Sanders. And it's so funny because when I told my cousin this, my cousin's like she's 22 years old, college student, all of that, just going into university, etc. Big liberal, big Bernie Sanders supporter. And I tried telling her, I'm like, she was talking about how he's anti-war. I said, well, he supports keeping troops in Afghanistan. And she says to me, she says, well, hasn't there always been troops in Afghanistan, like way before 9/11? I mean, that's the logic of Bernie Sanders supporters. Literally. Literally. And oh god, this is the big one right here. For all the dumb motherfuckers who say that Bernie Sanders wants to quote unquote break up the big banks, is all a bunch of fucking bullshit. And this was back in 2000. I think this was honestly in 09 or 08. This could be wrong. But him and Ron Paul, they had a bill set to audit the Federal Reserve, okay? Bernie Sanders says he was with it. They worked really hard on it, and at the last minute, Bernie Sanders pulled the plug on it and voted not in favor for it. And so here's Ron Paul confirming that. Factual information for you.
Not a bit surprised that the vote got to the Senate. I had expected Bernie Sanders to offer 604, which was the same as 1207, which is the audit the Fed bill. And at the last minute, he switched it and watered it down. And really, it adds nothing. It's a possibility that it even makes the current conditions worse. This is essentially the bill plus more of the bill we beat in the House Financial Committee, the Mel Watts bill. So, but this is so disappointing to me that this happened, especially since for months now I've worked with Bernie on this, and he introduced the bill in our language, which was 1207. But as we speak, this is Thursday night, they are working on this on the Senate floor, and we need to get as many messages possible to any senator you can think of, especially to Bernie Sanders' office, that we don't want this version. We want a true audit of the Fed. We need to know what the Open Market Committee does, and we need to know what they're doing overseas with the agreements with central banks and financial institutions. And
oh yeah, I agree with all of that, but that doesn't mean I'm not a fan of Ron Paul either. A lot of people have asked me if I support him. And no, I don't. He's a Mason as well. I pretty much believe, because his wife's an Eagle Star, and it's very, very hard to get into that place of power in the Masonic Lodge as a woman without their husband being a Mason themselves. So there's a phone call, actually. It's somewhere online where somebody called the Masonic Lodge that his wife attends, Ron Paul's wife, and asked them if she attends there, and I believe they confirmed. It's somewhere online. I haven't found it. If I find it, I'll make a separate video just on that subject, because there's still people who think Ron Paul is like an actual libertarian and cares about the people, and it's just like it's just like Donald Trump, back in 08, and said it was Ron Paul. All the politicians are bad except for Ron Paul. And now it's all the politicians are bad except for Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, right? But yeah, just unbelievable. So people think that Bernie Sanders wants to break up the big banks, but he refused to break up the biggest one of them all, the Federal Reserve. And let's see, why would he want to vote against it? Let's see. Well, he's a Zionist. The Federal Reserve was found by Zionists. I don't like to use the word Jew, so. And I know that Rothschilds are Jewish, and I know that Bernie Sanders is Jewish, but that doesn't mean that all Jews are bad and it's like a Jewish conspiracy theory. There's obviously Jews are involved in the New World Order. I just believe that they just happen to be Jewish, just like how some of them happen to be Christians, some of them happen to be other races and religions. And it's just, I'm not even going to get into that. But there you go, 100% proof in your face that Bernie Sanders does not support the big banks. Support breaking up the big banks, excuse me. He absolutely does not, by any means necessary. Okay, so if you're still gonna go out there and say that Bernie Sanders wants to break up the big banks, just know that you're putting out lies. He wants to break up the smaller bank. He wants to break up the smaller banks, not the biggest one of them all. And in fact, there's an article that I read last week, I think, or it was a few weeks ago, where Bernie Sanders says he wants a more democratic Fed, not to end this private corporation that prints money, sells it to governments around the world, charges them interest. It's the biggest scam of it all. He won't call it, he talks about private corporations all the time, but he won't call out the biggest private corporation, and he will not call out the biggest bank of them all. All puppets. Puppet. That's all Bernie Sanders is just a puppet politician feeding half fucking truths. That's why he talks about how corporations have too much power, but he won't talk about the biggest corporation of them all, the Federal Reserve, which is a private corporation. If you think it's a federal agency, my gosh. And the biggest bank of them all, the Federal Reserve. He doesn't want to fuck with either one of them. He won't touch them. But he'll touch these other little... Exactly, you get my point. Puppet. Puppet. Oh my gosh, don't even... Bro, I'm just gonna play this.
When you're white, you don't know what it's like to be living in a ghetto. You don't know what it's like to be poor. You don't know what it's like to be hassled when you walk down the street or you get dragged out of a car. And I believe that as a nation in the year 2016, we must be firm in making it clear. We will end institutional racism. When you...
You gotta be fucking kidding me, right? So is every white homeless person that I've seen walking down the street, they're just pretending, I guess. I mean, according to Bernie Sanders, that is, because when you're white, you don't know what it's like to be poor. You don't know what it's like to live in a ghetto, right? Right? Only black people live in the ghetto. Only black people or other races, not when you're white. When you're white, you don't know. And what is white anyways? European American? I mean, there's no such thing as a race called white. You're either European American, Italian, etc. I could just go off on white culture races. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, how many fucking people are gonna vote for this guy? I mean, liberals talk about how racist Trump is, which I agree, of course, but I mean, this is just fucking ridiculous. You fucking lib sheep, wake the fuck up. This guy is a total fucking puppet. He's a fucking puppet for he's a puppet for Halliburton and George Bush's and Dick Cheney's corporations. He wants to imprison a whistleblower who exposed the exposed the NSA and exposed the fact that the Constitution was being violated. He wants to keep troops in Afghanistan. Wants to use drones as a limited use of a tool for foreign policy. He wants to use drones for fucking foreign policy, but you idiots think that he's anti-war, wants to break up the big banks, wants to break up the private corporations that have too much fucking power, but he won't go after the biggest fucking corporation of them all. He won't go after the biggest bank of them all. Unbelievable. Unfucking believable. So, subscribe if you're new, of course, and if you're still going to vote for Bernie Sanders after watching every second of this video, you're lost. You're lost. God bless everybody. Take care.